Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got an episode of This Old Gun with the Smith & Wesson 5903. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Mantis Axe and Core belts. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links. It will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. And please consider supporting the channel on Player, formerly Utreon, where we can do some types of videos that are no longer allowed on YouTube. The 5903 was part of the 5900 series, all of which were 9mm. This one has an alloy frame, stainless steel slide, and stainless steel barrel. There was also a variant of it with a blued slide and also a full stainless version of it. They all, of course, had their own model numbers, and other variants on the same basic design with different model number series came in 40 Smith & Wesson, 45 ACP, and even 10mm. In fact, one of the early FBI 10mm was a gun based on this particular line. It's kind of an interesting gun. It was made beginning in the late 80s and then went on through the late 90s in a number of different variants. This one has a little stippling on the trigger guard. There was another variant that had kind of a hooked trigger guard at the front if you wanted to really have a finger rest. None of them had Picatinny rails. They do have these wraparound kind of a plastic grip. They're not quite a polymer, but they're a plastic grip, and they wrap all the way around, even up into the beginning of the beaver tail. And when you get your hand on it, you have a really good beaver tail. You're not very likely to get slide bit by these. There's not ambi features on these, and any of the modern features. Magazine release is easy to get to, and it works well. Pop out the magazine. This particular version of it came with a 15-round magazine. There were different variants with different size magazines, and there's serrations at the back, and of course you can use the safety lever also to pull it back. It also can bite into your fingers, so it's kind of which way do you want to go with that. The safety lever has got kind of an interesting little pyramid shape with serrations on it. It's easy to operate. It's also a decocker. So to fully put it into the safe position also decocks the hammer, and it sets the hammer back a little bit. You see that when I put it into the safe position, the hammer is pushed back away from the firing pin. So these are designed to be drop safe. They have a magazine disconnect, unfortunately. They also have the thumb safety that you see here, as well as the internal drop safety piston, which has become pretty much standard on guns today, but not all guns back in this era had that. This particular one, as you can see, is not new. There are no new ones anymore. This was actually an Israeli law enforcement turn-in that was imported back into the United States. So you're going to see wear on it. It's got a lot of different places. There's wear here on the slide. There's wear on the frame on the other side, right here where it went in and out of the holster. But overall, it's actually still a good-looking gun, and you figure, though these were well taken care of mechanically, in fact, when I took it apart to clean it, it was basically immaculate inside. They weren't babied. These were duty guns. They were treated as tools, which basically that's what guns are, and putting it in and out holsters, smacking it up against parts of vehicles and things like that would have been just life for these guns. They were not babied in any way. So to actually still be in this good condition with no real major scratches, the grip's in good shape, there's no chunks or anything missing out of it, it's actually kind of interesting, the quality that went into making these at the time. The sights on this are actually pretty nice. They're actual Novak sights. They're metal. They're 3-dot. They're relatively easy to see. They stand out pretty well. There was an adjustable sight available at the time. The sights are dovetail front and rear, so the sights could be replaced. And one thing I find interesting about these, there were so many of these made and they were actually so popular at the time, there's still a lot of aftermarket stuff out there for them. So it wouldn't surprise me if you couldn't get grips and sights. Of course, they don't have replaceable back straps or front serrations or any of the other modern things you're becoming used to on guns. This whole wraparound grip probably could be replaced if somebody was still making them. It will come off. But other mechanical parts, especially repair parts, are still readily available. The prices of these on the used market, because these are used, so you're going to see prices are going to vary wildly. I've seen prices in the low threes for ones that have actually show why they're in the low threes. And this one that I've got here was right around 5. And then I've seen them up from there. So depending on how pristine you're looking to get it, or if you're wanting to get your hands on the 5903 SSV, which was a short version, had a shorter overall slide and frame, those may go up from there. But there are still actually quite a few of these out there, so they are available. But you're going to find that most of them are going to be in similar condition to this because they were heavily used by law enforcement agencies, as I found out, all over the world. The size of these is 7.5 inches front to back, 5.4 inches tall, and between 1.3 and 1.4 inches thick, depending on whether you measure at the slide stop, which of course you would have to be part of your holstering, or whether you're measuring all the way back here at the safeties. So they're about the same width as your typical Glock overall. Weight is 28 ounces, because of course it's not one of the polymer wonders. It's an alloy frame, stainless steel slide, and a stainless steel barrel. An interesting thing, of course this one is unloaded, magazine's out of it. The barrel's kind of got this little bull barrel thing going at the front, and there's an integral bushing in the slide. This is the third generation of this overall design, and that was one of the changes they made, is this integral bushing. So you get good barrel lock up, but you still get relatively easy maintenance and disassembly. So there's a lot of things that went into this that were input probably from law enforcement agencies that, this is what we want if you're going to make the next generation of gun that we're going to buy and deploy with our officers. It's relatively easy to operate. The trigger is actually surprisingly heavy for how it feels. So it comes in just under 12 pounds in double action, and in single action mode it comes in around 6 pounds. But this one is smoothed out because it's got some mileage on it. It doesn't feel as heavy as it actually measures. So I'm going to put a snap cap in it. This is an old gun, I'm not going to be dry firing it. So I'm going to put this snap cap in it. It's an inert dummy round. And that'll just protect the firing pin. So if I got it in single action mode, which I do right now, there's minimal take up, and then a really short, crisp break that feels light, but measures around 6 pounds, but it feels lighter than that. And if I let go of it, a relatively smooth, but fairly heavy, close to 12-pound double action. Now, of course, this is a DASA, so if I had fired it for real, it would have cycled back into single action mode. And I'm going to just, whoops. So I meant to cock the hammer to show you the reset. Get zoomed in there correctly. There's the reset, and you're right on the wall. Now, if I were to let off, you'll see that the reset's kind of almost all the way out, but all the way out's not all that far in single action mode. And a nice break. So in its day, it did have a decent trigger. The triggers on these were duty triggers. So of course they weren't looking for these to be match grade triggers with light pulls. And I failed to mention that the barrel is 4-inch conventional rifling, and I did mention that it's stainless steel. And this magazine that I showed you that's in it at the moment is a 15-round magazine. And of course I had to put the magazine in it to disable the magazine disconnect so I could actually operate the trigger for them. And by the way, if you enjoy our videos, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. Kind of helps make sure our videos get seen. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what age this exact one is because there's no records on the serial numbers that track the manufacturing date. The documentation you're going to find for these is going to be third-party documentation. I wasn't able to find a downloadable manual on Smith & Wesson's site because, of course, this would have been before the internet and PDFs were a common thing. Is this a good gun that you should seek out as your next concealed carry? Probably not. There's much better options today. They're lighter, they're easier to work with, they have higher capacity. Is this a really cool collector gun? Would it make a good home defense gun? And do I think it's reliable? Yeah, I think it is. From a shooting it perspective, it's almost no recoil because it's got some weight to it, and it's chambered in 9mm. So it was very comfortable to shoot. The sights were easy to see, easy to get back on target. It proved to be quite reliable from the first round to the last round. Of course, it's well past any break-in period that it might have encountered. So I found it a pleasant, easy to shoot, and comfortable to shoot at the range. It was enjoyable. It would make a good collector range day gun. With chambered in 45 or 10mm for the other models, might be a little bit more of a handful, but in 9mm this one was actually pretty tame and pretty easy to work with. The double action trigger was smooth, a little bit heavy, but it was smooth and it didn't stack. So as I was pulling that double action trigger back, I didn't have a lot of stutter or anything else. So even shooting it in double action was relatively easy. But single action was just a breeze. So it really, I think, is a good gun, especially when you consider its age and the era that it was manufactured in. And like all surplus guns, they may be plentiful today. As the day I'm making this video, that'll change over time. The supply will dry up. They'll either end up in permanent collectors' hands, or they'll end up junked for somebody that just isn't interested in them anymore. So if guns like this, when you see them and there's something that interests you, kind of jump on them. Just, again, check them out. Make sure that they're mechanically sound, even though they're likely to have a little bit of life showing on them. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Player, Rumble, pretty much everywhere. And thank you.